Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing good. It's been a while since I put out a video. Just wanted to make a quick little video here and just show something I found kind of interesting. My particular situation, it's not so good, but I just kind of wanted to show this in case anybody was wondering what it looks like or what the difference is in a log that's been through a couple different situations. So, people that have been milling for a while probably already know what happened to this log. If you can't see it, this right here is basically like a split or a tear. And when you get down to the end here, you can see this whole log has just kind of been shredded. You can see this is just kind of like a splinter on the side here. And then hopefully you can see those cracks. I think you can. There's a lot of fine cracks in there. So I get these from time to time, and what this is I'll show you. Here's actually the bottom. So I cut about 2 feet off of the bottom of this log. And so here's the bottom where the tree was fell. And so here's your hinge cut. So on this side, it looks like you probably got about 6 inches of hinge, 5 to 6 inches. And over here, it looks like you got like 7 to 8 inches of hinge. So there's a big hinge. So I don't know exactly what happened with this tree. I didn't fell it, but it might have had something to do with this hollow spot. Maybe they got to this and they thought this was all hollow in here. So they just left it thick and thought they could easily push it over. But what it was is this chunk of wood here, when they push it over, all these fibers holding split and shred this log. And that's what it looks like when you start milling it. So once the log's like that, it becomes kind of worthless. And I think I've talked about this in the past, but I don't know if I ever got to actually show a good instance of a log where it happened. So people that mill are people that, log professionally, for professional lumber, they always know that it's best for your trees to actually fall and to fall in a certain way and to not, hit things or land abruptly in certain manners so that you don't damage the logs, because you can crack the wood or the logs when you're felling the trees. But what happens a lot of times is people that aren't in the business, it's easier to just kind of make small cuts in the trees where they don't have to be, real particular, and then push the trees over. Or a lot of times in certain situations, they'll just push the trees over. I apologize for the noise in the background. That's the wind turbines starting and stopping from the wind. So that's kind of what happened in this situation. I think it was just, the hinge was just too fat. And what happened was when they pushed it over, because it wasn't falling on its own, obviously, because it had that big hinge there, when they pushed it, they just basically cracked all this wood. Now this is a good, like I said, I cut 2 feet off of here. So this is a good, 8 feet up the tree. And that's probably somewhere in here is where they were pushing on the tree, right in here. So depending on where you push on that tree, and also depending on if there's anything farther up the tree that's holding it up and you're pushing, you could ruin the whole tree pushing on it. So whenever I'm trying to fell a tree, sometimes I'll forget my wedges, or sometimes, I'm not a professional, so I'm not great at, putting trees exactly where they need to be, especially when I got to overcome obstacles. So I might push on the tree a little bit, but I always try to make that hinge as thin as possible and as consistent as possible, while still being safe that the tree doesn't fall where I don't want it to. And that usually works out for me. Now this tree, you can see like the main split going up it. So it went a good way up the tree. It's a pretty strong tree, but this is also where you can get in situations where they, like you get what they call like a barber chair. So just wanted to show this. This is kind of what happens with the lumber. I don't know that I'm really gonna get anything much out of this log. I might, once I get down lower, there might be some good wood in there, but I guess I'll find out. Now I've been milling a lot of, this is bur oak and hickory. The bur oak is in the white oak family, and it looks very similar to white oak. The only difference I've noticed is maybe every once in a while you kind of get what looks like almost like red oak pins a little more. Maybe I just haven't noticed that in my white oak that I milled, but that's really the only difference. Otherwise, I think it looks a lot just like a regular white oak. Bur oak obviously being in the white oak family, that makes sense. I've also been milling hickory, and between like damage like this and ants, I've probably lost about half the wood that I've been milling. The ants have been completely hidden too in the middle of the log. The log looks great. I get my cant made. I'm down to where I'm just slicing up boards, you know, the funnest part where you're just knocking out boards, and I'll get about a third of the way through that cant and there'll be a huge carpenter ant nest right in the middle of that cant. And I don't even, sometimes I don't even understand, you know, it's just like a small hole that they came in. I wouldn't have even noticed. So you can see on here, this is the slab. This is one side where it's all shredded. I didn't do anything to this. This is what it looked like. And you wouldn't have been able to tell from the outside besides that big crack that was in the log. And on the other side, all you have is those fine cracks. And what those fine cracks are, like I said, that's just where the wood was shredded. So when you come through and you mill it, you can see it because it's already been torn and shred. So all this wood, when it dries, it's gonna crack there. And this is not like a check. It's totally different than a check. These will get worse as it dries. So not only will you have this crack in it, but it's gonna want to keep going up higher up in this wood because it's gonna want to dry out real fast along that crack. And that's just gonna want to make the crack keep going up. So just want to show that. I think this video was long enough. Good to make a video. And with that, hope everyone has a good day, and I'll talk to everyone later.